Okay, it's March 1st and the weather is pretty mild today. So looks like we're getting ready for the spring. And and now it's Wifey's March report.
So these are the flower beds that we have on either side of our grape arch. And, we're just letting everything from last year's sunflowers compost. So, when the last frost date comes around, we'll start working on this bed. And I think the first thing that we're going to grow is sunflowers because those are my husband's favorite flowers, and we have a lot of seeds left over from the past 2 years, so I'm gonna use those up. And I have some other plans for some more flower beds elsewhere. So this will be, I think, just sunflowers and then the grape arch. And we have 2 razzmatazz grapes on either side. So the smaller one here and the smaller one on the other side in the same spot were kind of planted late. So I'm hoping that they survive the winter. And I think that there shouldn't be any issues with that. I think that they're fine. But last year, the one that we grew in the spring really started to take off. So I think that they're pretty cold hardy. I think that they're pretty good for this zone. And I think we're in 7A here outside of Philadelphia. Here we have some Japanese maples, some roses in these pots, and also some flowers that need that winter cold. What they're called? Winter
Exposure?
exposure. Is this called striation? Or I forgot what it's called. I can't think of it right now. But the seeds will not basically germinate without a period of cold. And I didn't know anything about that for certain plants. So we have some lavender over here, just taking on some of the cold for a couple weeks. And I hope that that's enough. So, it's still going to be kind of cold. Ooh, today is very windy. So things are kind of blowing around. Right over here, we have some roses. So we have Electron, which is a hybrid tea rose. And I try to grow roses that have fragrance because I think that's very important for a rose. I think it's nice when they're pretty, but if there is no fragrance, it's kind of a disappointment. This one here is Lady of Shalot or Shalot. I think it does have a fragrance, but it's supposed to be a beautiful kind of a peachy kind of David Austin rose. That's a David Austin, and it's a lot of people like that rose, and it's very healthy. It's a very healthy rose. And then I have some different Japanese maples here. I know that one of them, let's see here. I think a lot of the tags must have blown off over the winter, so I just need to find the receipt. This one is something I put out recently. It is a Asian pear that has 2 varieties grafted onto it, called Drippin' Honey, of all things, and Chojoro, which is a very large Asian pear. They're both very sweet butterscotch flavored, very juicy Asian pear. So we have not had an Asian pear at all where 2 or more things have been grafted onto the same rootstock. So this is like our first time. We'll see if that was a good idea or not. Over here we have 2 fig trees, and one is the panache fig, which is like a green and yellowish striped fig, and it has like a pinkish strawberry pink inside flesh to the fig. And this one here might just be, I think, a turkey fig. And I just I didn't know if this was a good idea or not. I think it is because we used to wrap figs and put leaves and such to insulate them. I just put some of the duck hay in here into this little cage, and hopefully that helped them through the winter. I mean, it's still winter, but it'll help them. So I have some foxgloves and poppies, and those are flowers that just will not sprout if you do not have some of that winter cold. Some if they don't experience a couple weeks of winter cold. Okay, we have two raised garden beds left that we did not get rid of from doing the installation of the greenhouse. So I'm not sure what my husband's plans for them are, but right now one is holding the garlic for this year, and the other, we can get rid of, but it has some kale that is overwintering, and I'm sure that when it gets much warmer, that they're going to start greening up, and actually they are right now. They are starting to green up. If you look here, you can see them starting to grow again. So I'm sure that they'll start growing. And I'm sure there's tons of kale seeds left over and lettuce seeds left over floating around in here. So those will probably start sprouting even without my putting anything in. But inside the greenhouse, I have tons of lettuce that I can put in there. I have my tulips here, and I have some copper image tulips. They're very, very beautiful. They have like multiple petals. And I have some more copper image, and I also have Bella Puck, and they're all in these tubs, and I used to have them on the ground over there by the side of the greenhouse, but I found that the ducks were nibbling on the very tender leaves that were starting to come out. You could see one right here, and I didn't want them destroying the tulips, because these are very nice tulips. So if anyone tells you that ducks are not destructive, well, they're probably, I've never had chickens, but from what I heard, they're probably not as destructive as chickens, but they are destructive. Because if the plant is edible to creatures and it doesn't taste bad, they will eat it. And they've really wreaked some havoc on our flowers in our garden. So that's a load of nonsense when people say ducks are not destructive. They are destructive. And they are destructive to the lawn as well. Yes, that's you. Whew. So I have some larger trees that I started in pots, and one of them is a, right over here. Oh, I have some tulips in here that are going to come up soon. And these are La Belle Epoque, which are some beautiful, very, very feminine, Victorian looking tulips with multiple petals in the bowl here. So in this container, I have a tree that I grew from seed, and it was like one of those beans, those long beans off of, I wish I could remember the name of the seed, the flower, but the flower is like a cluster of white flowers that almost look like horse chestnut flowers, and they grow these long beans. So I planted some, and I got several trees. So this tree has now branched out into 4 branches, and it is about 2 years old, and it was grown from seed, from the tree was like, I would say like 4 stories tall. It was a huge tree. If I can remember the name, I'll say it. I have some maple trees, one in the ground over here, one in the pot. It's a type of maple tree. One in the pot over here, which is a red maple, And that one over there is called Autumn Fantasy. But I wanted maple trees that didn't make helicopter seeds because they just get everywhere and they grow everywhere. So autumn maple is not supposed to produce helicopter seeds. This one here may or may not create helicopter seeds. This one is called Autumn Blaze. And I have a feeling that there is male and female maple trees because I've seen maple trees that didn't produce a single seed and others that are filled with seeds. So I have to look into that. But I've read that sometimes the Autumn Blaze maple does not create seeds. But maybe they're the type that actually have a male and female. So like I said, I don't know if I may sell this tree, but it was tiny when I bought it. I bought it for very little. So I'm just going to grow it to a good size. And if I don't want to keep it, then I'll sell it. This is a Dalgo crabapple. It's a very beautiful ornamental as well as an edible crabapple. I think it's Russian, and it's great as a pollinator for apples. And we have what is it? The yellow, most common apple, yellow delicious apple right over there. So it's a great pollinator for that, and it's also very beautiful when it has its long kind of oval, like its oval red crab apples. They're very tasty, so I'm kind of glad to have this for those reasons. And yeah, and I got this as a bare root. Okay, so we're gonna head on over here to the greenhouse. Somebody's been playing around with the duck eggs, probably a crow. Put that in there. These are the Thin Man Thuya this is Full Speed Ahead, which is a very slender Thuya pine tree. So I'll find a place for it in the ground, but I'm very indecisive and I don't want to make my husband or myself have to dig things up again and move things. So I just kept these in pots for the winter until I can figure out a location for them.